Hello everyone, welcome to my March 2019 haul video. Welcome back everyone to a brand new haul video. I apologize once again for having this up so late in the following month. That just seems to be the trend that I've been going with lately for the last several months, and it's probably going to continue. I just don't know why, it just seems to happen. But for those of you who are not familiar with this video series that I do here on my channel, it is essentially what the title suggests. It's just me basically telling all of you all of the things that I got in a specific month. This just happens to be March of 2019, and March of 2019 had a lot of interesting acquisitions for me. There was a lot more comic book related stuff this month than I've gotten most recently, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that one of my local comic book stores, one that I go to pretty frequently, had a customer appreciation sale at this specific branch. They typically have it at another branch every year, but I think this was the first time they had it at specifically this store. So I just went and bought a bunch of stuff there, so most of what I got here in this pile is from there, and I'll point out those things specifically. But starting off here is actually a couple of freebie things that I got on, I believe, March 23rd was Hellboy Day, and it was to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Hellboy. And everyone knows that there's a new movie that just came out very recently. I should have the review up on my channel by the time this video comes out, so please go and check that out. But some of the things I got here are kind of interesting. First up here is a Hellboy pin, which is just, the face of Hellboy, the comic book face of Hellboy, of course. Hellboy was, of course, written by Mike Mignola. It has had several iterations or several books within the overall series of Hellboy. Typically, the first one that starts off with is Hellboy. And the reason why I say that is because they were also handing out free copies of the first issue of Hellboy. This is, of course, a reprint to commemorate the 25th anniversary. It even has a 25th anniversary banner on the back. So I actually have, of course, the first library edition put out by Dark Horse of Hellboy, which I still need to read, so I'm probably going to be reading that very, very soon, and I do want to start getting all of the other library editions. I don't have a great fear of them going out of print anytime soon, but you never really know when it comes to comic books. A couple more things here are temporary tattoos that they were handing out of Hellboy. One of the more interesting things that they were handing out was a kind of poster, but it's also a combination like timeline and kind of character timeline as well. So here you have the front of the poster, which is like kind of all of the characters in the Hellboy universe. Sorry, I can't really fit all of it in the frame, but you get the general gist. But on the back here is a whole timeline of all of the different books and all of the different characters and where they all fit in. Once again, sorry, I can't really fit it all within the frame. I thought that was very interesting because as someone who has not dived into the Hellboy universe, it can be a little daunting as to what books fit when and which order you should be reading. Also, in March was a very special time for Batman fans out there because we had the 1000th issue of Detective Comics come out, and they came out with a bunch of different covers by a bunch of different artists to kind of commemorate every single decade that Batman has been around. And they did the similar thing with Action Comics last year, and I stuck to just getting one because they were actually priced at about $10 a piece, and to get all of the different covers plus the special variants, it would have cost you probably over $100. So I ended up going with the 1980s cover that is a variant cover by Frank Miller and Alex Sinclair. I've always really, really liked the Dark Knight Returns, which has always been my favorite Batman graphic novel or favorite Batman story, and I really have always liked that version of Batman. It's a very interesting version of Batman. So all of the following comic book things are all from that sale at my comic book store. First up here are 3 back issues of a run of Birds of Prey, all done by Gail Simone. And the reason why I got these, and for those of you interested, they are numbers 97, 98, $1.99. And the reason why I got these is because I'm trying to collect her entire run on Birds of Prey, which I think go from issues number 56 all the way up through 110 or 109. I'm not quite sure. I probably should have looked that up before I came here and did this video. But I'm trying to collect all of those because there are paperback or trade issues of those collected, but I think they're out of print and relatively hard to find. And this run is a very favored run by DC Comics fans, so I'm really surprised they have not reissued those trade paperbacks yet. And I don't know if they're going to do that before the movie comes out soon, but I really hope they do because I will definitely buy them. Next up here is a current comic book, and this is issue number 1 of Shazam. For those of you who are probably familiar, Shazam recently had a film adaptation come out, which I've already done a movie review for here on my channel, so please check that out. But I wanted to start collecting the comic book because Shazam is not really collected well in comic book form, so I wanted to start getting into kind of the new series that has come out, and this one has, of course, come out pretty subsequently with the movie to get fans well aware of who the character is. And next up here is another current comic book, and this is one that I'm sure many of you are familiar with because I have pretty much been showing each subsequent issue every single month for the last several videos, and this is Supergirl number 28, written by Mark Andreyko. I, of course, already have number 29 because I'm doing this video well into the month of April. So this is number 28, and I've just been collecting this right along, and I'm going to keep collecting it, I think, until his run is officially done, and then I think I'll stop because his story arc will, have run its course. Next up is a Marvel Comics reprint. It is part of the True Believers reprints that they've been doing recently, and it's pretty much just Marvel's version of, reprinting a lot of their key older issues. And the reason why I got this one specifically is because it's a comic book that I do not have anything from. I don't have any trade paperbacks, no hardcovers, no omnibuses, no individual issues of nothing. And this is going to probably surprise many of you, and this is Fantastic Four. I have nothing from Fantastic Four. It is one of the most important comics within probably Marvel Comics history and perhaps comic book history in general. So I just got this, Marvel True Believers reprint in order to just at least read one issue of Fantastic Four. If there are any runs of Fantastic Four that you could suggest to me to get into for a first-time reader of Fantastic Four, please let me know in the comments below because I really want to get into Fantastic Four. I know who they are, I know their origin, and I know that they are very much beloved amongst Marvel Comics fans and comic book fans in general. I just don't know where to start. Next up is another current comic book, and this is Hit Girl, that is written by Kevin Smith. And the reason why I bought this issue number 1 here is because I really like Kevin Smith as a person and as a filmmaker and as an artist, so I thought I would support him in at least buying the first issue here. I think this is going to be a mini-series of issues, so I may just pick all of them up and have them together, or I may just wait until the trade comes out. I'm not quite sure right now. Now I'm going to get into the trade paperbacks that I picked up, and I only picked up 2 trade paperbacks and 1 oversized hardcover. The first trade paperback here is Green Arrow, Hunter's Moon by Mike Grell, and the reason why I picked this up is because I already have his first trade paperback, which is the Longbow Hunters, which is the miniseries that kicked off his entire run. So I have to start getting these trade paperbacks because they're starting to go out of print. I'm not sure if that means that they're going to be collecting these in a omnibus form or absolute form, or they're just reissuing trade paperbacks. Not quite sure, but get on this if you haven't already, or if you're a fan of Green Arrow. Next up is 52 Volume 3. I have Volume 1 and 2, and what is interesting about this series is, for those of you not familiar, this series took place after Infinite Crisis. Essentially what happens is, at the end of Infinite Crisis, the triumvirate, or the trio, or, Holy Trinity of DC Comics kind of disappear for a year, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and DC Comics basically printed an anthology series every week for an entire year. That's why it's called 52. And this has been collected in an omnibus form. It's been collected in the individual volumes of 4, this being 3 of 4, and it also has been reprinted recently in 2 larger paperback versions. The reason why I'm getting them in the individual trade paperback form is because, unfortunately, all 3 of these formats offer different content, but the trade paperback versions, at least the ones that are 4 volumes, they have this kind of weekly commentary that's in all, descriptive handwritten dialogue form by several writers and creators at DC Comics, and for some reason that is omitted in the new trade paperbacks. It's been omitted in the omnibus form, and I thought that that was a very interesting thing that they probably should have included, because it makes it more complete, and I'm all about being complete, and I actually had the first volume for years, so I figured I might as well just complete the set. And next up here is an oversized hardcover, and this is Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 2. As you can see, the plastic is actually still on it, which was very fortunate for me, because if memory serves, all of these I think are out of print, or at least increasingly difficult to find. I know there was an omnibus of Ultimate Spider-Man that is out of print, that I think only printed the first 49 issues or so. I'm sorry if the number is off, but this is a run that went well over 100 issues, I believe, so they never came out with a subsequent omnibus volume, so I figured I would just keep collecting the oversized hardcovers. But like I said, they're difficult to find, and when you can find them, they're pretty much full price or more, typically places like eBay. But I was lucky that in my local comic book store that they had it. It was initially full price, but with the sale that was going on, I was able to knock the price off pretty significantly, down to pretty much what I wanted to pay for it on eBay. And on eBay, it would have probably been used, and this is absolutely brand new and sealed. And they also have Volume 3 there as well, so I'm probably going to go back and get that too before somebody else snags it. So now that I'm done with all of the comic book related stuff that I got, I can now dive into all of the movie related things that I've gotten. And first up here is probably the newest release, or the one that I was most looking forward to during the month of March, and this is the 4K UHD edition of Aquaman. As you of course know from watching these videos, or from just literally the comic book haul I just showed you, I'm a big DC Comics fan, and I did a review of this movie when it came out in theaters, so please check that out. I also am a big fan of this movie in general, and it is absolutely stunning aesthetically in 4K. If you have the 4K UHD capability at home, I highly recommend getting this disc because it looks absolutely fantastic. Next up here is actually something I had on back order for about a month or even more, and that is Vampire Hunter D on Blu-ray. This for some reason dropped down to about $7.99 on Amazon, just randomly. This is the original film from the 1980s. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust was another film that came out, I believe, in the early 2000s. Please don't quote me on that. But I had actually already seen that film, and I had never seen this one. And I'm always trying to look to bolster my anime section. And next up here is Creed 2 on Blu-ray. I decided to go with the Blu-ray because I have the first film on Blu-ray, and I kind of have this obsessive-compulsive disorder to make things line up on a shelf identical with one another if they are a Blu-ray or if they are 4K or DVD or whatever. I just like them to look uniform. So I decided to go with the Blu-ray, and I have to say, it looks absolutely fantastic. I really love this film. I did an individual review for it when it came out in theaters last year. I've rewatched it since, and I still love it just as much. Next up here was one of my favorite films from last year that I think I delved into when I did my top films of last year list video, and that is Yorgos Lanthimos' most recent film, The Favorite. This, of course, stars Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone and Olivia Colman, a critically acclaimed film, nominated for a bunch of awards at the Oscars. I decided to pick up the Blu-ray. There is no 4K UHD release of this film, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Not that it wouldn't look absolutely stunning in UHD, but I think for a film that is as indie as this or as unique as this that I don't think the 4K would have sold well. So that's probably why they decided to just put it out on Blu-ray. Next up here is an upgrade. And this is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in the Ultra HD 4K edition. I'm slowly getting all of my Harry Potters into the 4K format. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, which will be in next month's video, and I have 7 and 8. So I need 4, 5, and 6, and then I'll be complete. The last two films here are probably films that you wouldn't consider to be the best films in the world, but they are two films by the same directing duo, and that is the Wachowskis. And these are two films that I had never seen before up until I just bought them, because of just a lot of the negativity that was around them, and I just never got around to just seeing them. But I thought since the Wachowskis are kind of slowing down their production right now, that I can pretty much fill out their entire filmography very easily. So first up here is the Blu-ray edition of Speed Racer, which I have to say is very underrated. There is no film quite like this when it comes to the aesthetics, and I think it's an underrated film from a plot and character perspective. And next up here is a critically panned film, and that is Jupiter Ascending, starring Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis. And this is a film that is not great, but I have to give the Wachowskis credit for at least being ambitious and being true to themselves and putting out their vision. And that's really why I have a lot of respect for them. So that has been everything that I got in the month of March 2019. If you want to see anything else in more depth, please let me know. And also, if you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.